Episode 277 The Truth of Cronus, 1. It was reversed. It was cold and familiar. Roman Dmitri accepted the changes without losing control of himself, even as the world was twisted and changing rapidly. Purple light spread in all directions, piercing through the long darkness. When Roman Dmitri first entered the new space, a dry world bathed in deep purple unfolded before his eyes. Withstood the pressure without the protection of divine power. As expected, you were no ordinary human. It was Shepherd. The white-haired wizard's body was completely torn apart by the after-effects of the aura. However, pass. The purple energy and black mana intertwined, quickly recovering Shepherd's body. At the same time, the magical power derived from it also grew stronger. Just by existing in this space, he gained infinite power, while Roman Dmitri was bound to become weak. A being who uses holy power. It was a trap prepared to kill her, but Roman Dmitri forced Shepherd to use his secret weapon. The plans have changed. If it was Roman Dmitri, as Shepherd had experienced firsthand, then it was worth killing him even in this way. The people of the Salamander continent praise the aura. They distinguish the power of the aura and brag about how strong they are, but those who know the truth of this world know how inferior that power is. But what is the true identity of the aura you use? It is different from what we know. No one classified as an aura inspector has ever shown the power to cut through the magic of the eighth circle. Sudden core. It created magic. A tremendous magical power, incomparable to anything before, was seething around him. Roman Dmitri. The more I get to know you, the more incomprehensible you become. You were not this strong when you first interfered with our plans, but you have made great strides in a short period of time. Now, I truly acknowledge the existence of Roman Dmitri. That is why I, Shepherd, and we, will do our utmost to kill you. Pass. Around. Shadows appeared. They were a little different in form from the shadows I had experienced before. Their entire bodies were covered in darkness, but their forms were like those of beasts. At first, there were only a few shadows that could be counted, but as time went on, hundreds and thousands of shadows filled the surrounding space. This place. It was Shepherd's world. He used his power, which he had only used a few times, to deal with Roman Dmitri. It's fun. Roman Dmitri laughed. Salamander. There was a special secret in this world. The dark side that was not revealed to the world was planning something through the Kronos Empire, and his actions would have been an obstacle to that. He himself did not yet know the truth. The information that was revealed on the surface alone did not give us any insight into who Shepherd was, what this world was, or the truth about the salamander. One thing is certain. It was annoying. Shepherd's confident attitude and smile on his lips. Roman Dmitri didn't like it. Shepherd was furious. As Roman Dmitri reacted leisurely, he unleashed a barrage of magical powers with his face distorted like a demon. You are being too relaxed to the end, Roman Dmitri. You will never get out of here alive. Fury of the heaven. Core. The magic power exploded. It was different from before. The lightning striking from the sky as dark clouds gathered had shown tremendous destructive power, and now, blending in with the purple sky, it was a sight that gave me goosebumps just to look at. At the same time, the shadows rushed in all at once. This time, I was determined to see this fight to an end, to make sure that Roman Dmitri wouldn't escape. Quarring. Core. The world flashed. Roman Dmitri looked up at the sight and raised his sword. And then, widely. Seventh step. A purple aura swirled around Roman Dmitri, and Roman Dmitri was struck by lightning head-on. The second half of the Chionma sword technique, Li Chosik. That. Flash. Quack 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 quack. It was a single blow by Chionma Bak Hyuk that no one in the Central Plains martial arts world could stop. A clash between the two. It was a fight that was not permitted in this world. The outcome was not decided by a single collision, and only after a violent collision that completely destroyed the purple world was the conclusion reached. The one who was kneeling was Shepherd. Thousands of shadows were slaughtered, and Shepher, who had raised his power, was slowly dispersing into black smoke due to the gap in mana. Pass. Oh. That's ridiculous. Defeat. I couldn't believe it. In this space, he was invincible. At least with the powers allowed in this world, he was convinced that even a being that could use divine powers could not survive against him. But then everything became meaningless. A single attack by Roman Dmitri against the falling lightning shocked Shepher beyond recovery. It's over. I knelt down and looked up at Roman Dmitri. Okay then. Bam. He grabbed his head. Roman Dmitri covered his entire face so that she could not see him, and spoke in a cold voice. The Kronos Empire already has the power to conquer the continent. So why, unlike your words and actions so far, do you not reveal your true identity? I want to know the truth. Why have you not been able to realize your ambition to conquer the continent, and why have you moved your troops now? It can't be simply because of what I did. What I did was only a detonator, and you clearly have a special reason. Dark Curtain. I wanted to find out the truth. The magic of the Hwanma that terrified the martial arts world had the extremely dangerous power to see through human thoughts. The problem is, it was a power that even Roman Dmitri could not use recklessly. The moment you enter into someone else's thoughts, there is a high probability that you will become entangled with your own thoughts and become a wreck, so reading someone else's thoughts only takes about 3 seconds at most. It was worth taking the risk, even if you knew it. In 3 seconds, I was planning to figure out some information that was in Shepard's head. Quack. I clutched my head. As Shepard struggled, Roman Dmitri's eyes turned black. Sudden. My mind is in a tangled mess. As the world expanded, some information that was assumed to be Shepher's memories flowed in. Sven, Mystic, Shepher. Those were the names. A solid iron fortress had formed in Shepard's mind, and he could not confirm the truth beyond the curtain of darkness. At best, all we can find out is superficial information. I was just about to cut the link after obtaining only some information, when at the end, one more name was sucked into my head. Opening square bracket ellipsis ellipsis closing square bracket. Moment. Roman Dmitri's eyes dilated. It was a completely unexpected person, something even he had not expected. Roman Dmitri disappears. The battlefield was thrown into chaos. The Duke of Bamford, who was at first confused, grasped the situation and gave orders to his soldiers. Shepher has dealt with Roman Dmitri. All forces, attack. The tables have turned. The absence of Roman Dmitri. The soldiers of the Kronos Empire, who had been trembling at the sight of Hannibal dying, knew that their fear had disappeared thanks to the Duke of Bamford's orders. Then there was no reason to be afraid. Kronos had an army of 300,000 men, while Dmitri and the Cairo coalition had a much smaller army. Even though Hannibal and the other aura inspectors of the Kronos Empire had been massacred, now was the perfect opportunity to end the war. Attack. Now is the time. Kill all those insolent Dmitri guys. The enemies surged forward. At the sight of their figures filling their vision, the soldiers of Cairo showed pale complexions. The foundation of faith. There is no Roman Dmitri. The moment the thought of defeat took over my mind, the fear of death arose. That was when. Soldiers of Dmitri. Follow me. Chris. He stepped forward. Raising his aura, he charged without hesitation towards the enemies who were rushing in like waves. Quaw. Ugh. The two armies clashed. Chris's sword flashed and blew off dozens of heads in an instant, and Chris fiercely cut through the enemy ranks. Roman Dmitri had said many times that he wanted Chris to be the commander in his absence. To sort out this chaotic situation, not just verbal orders but overwhelming force was needed. Like Roman Dmitri. Chris hoped he could be that pillar of support. I am Dmitri's Chris. Quarring. Quaw. Every time I swing my sword. As expected, the enemies shed blood. The opponents included both ordinary soldiers and swordsmen using aura, but there was no one strong enough to block the swordsmanship that even Diego could not react to. Chris's presence was overwhelming. Although the 300,000 troops were a huge number, enough to fill a wide plain, the corpses piling up around him made him look empty. 1 step, 2 feet, opened the way. At the helplessness Chris displayed, Dimitri's soldiers also raised their voices. Follow Chris. We are the invincible Dimitri. We always win. Barco. Southern Front. Cronus. Valhalla. The soldiers who followed Roman Dimitri and achieved victory after victory did not weakly accept reality even when adversity arose. The circumstances didn't matter. How you perceive a problem and how strong your will is to solve it. Through my experience, I have learned what is important. That's why. He pushed on like a hawk. Even as their comrades' heads were blown off right next to them, Dimitri's soldiers cut down the enemy's bodies with fire in their eyes. One soldier cut down dozens. Even though their bodies were pierced and cut by the enemy's weapons, they continued to slaughter their enemies until their bodies stopped moving, screaming with their mouths glistening with blood. On the battlefield, soldiers are nothing more than expendable items. Their lives would end like this, but they had faith that Roman Dimitri would look after the families of the dead. Roman Dimitri. Dimitri's master. That was the kind of person he was. The firm belief burned fiercely and did not give an inch of resistance even against an army of 300,000. And, along with Chris, Dimitri's demon also made his presence felt. Puck. PFFT PFFT PFFT. Ugh. Ugh. In the middle of enemy territory. Kevin committed massacre. Unlike Chris, who stayed in formation and moved forward, Kevin dug into the space and slaughtered everyone he came across. Due to the use of the Chionma sword technique, the body was not normal. The mana seething inside him pushed his body to its limits, but he had no intention of sparing himself in order to resolve the crisis that was upon Dimitri. Dimitri's sword. It is the meaning of one's existence. Because he had vowed to live by the sword, Kevin slaughtered everyone he saw, making his presence seem scary. It was an overwhelming presence. Like a bloodthirsty madman, the uncontrolled monster slaughtered all those he classified as Dimitri's enemies. Bego. Bego. I cut it again. As he opened the way, Kevin's face was drenched in blood as he cut down hundreds of enemies in a short period of time. Dimitri's demon. It was an appearance worthy of its reputation. As the Duke of Bamford watched the situation from afar, he was taken aback by Dimitri's propaganda. So this is how strong Dimitri was. Dimitri and Kronos. The difference in power was more than 3 times. Even with simple arithmetic calculations, it was an absurd fight where one soldier had to take on 3 soldiers, but the tenacity of Dimitri's soldiers made the situation tense. The only fortunate thing was that more than half of the enemy's forces were from Cairo. Cairo's soldiers were not as vicious as Dimitri's soldiers. Admitted it. Dimitri was a powerhouse. With such a small piece of land, they have amassed an incredible force. That's why I was so lucky. Now that I know the truth. Now that Sheffer has disappeared somewhere with Roman Dimitri, it is the perfect opportunity. There was no next time. If Dimitri is not destroyed now that everything is perfect, Kronos will inevitably fall into even greater danger. Kronos wizards, unleash your powers. Kill all enemies, by any means necessary. Hwak. The wizards of Kronos. They unleashed their power. The explosive mana that came from all directions was a powerful weapon that could change the situation on the battlefield. Besides Shepard, the power of the Kronos Empire clearly demonstrated why they were called the greatest power on the continent. That was when. The moment the magic struck, the world turned white. Stop it. Flash. Core. Pure white light falling from the sky. A pure white knight surrounded by pillars of light appeared before the people.